Tremolo.
Hello, welcome. We will get started here in just a second. Okay, as folks are kind of filing in here, I will go ahead and get started with the introduction. Good morning, my name is Ryan Hecht. I'm the Marketing Director at the Arvada Chamber of Commerce. Thanks so much for joining us today for this marketing webinar presented by the Chamber's Business Growth CAPS Council. You know, in our latest survey, ability to effectively market my business was the #4 challenge for Arvada businesses. So in response to that challenge, you can see on the screen here, we have 3 more of these sessions coming up through the end of the year. Really hope you can join us for those. You can register on the Arvada Chamber website today for those, and those are all free for our members. I'm so excited to introduce our speakers for today, 2 true social media experts that we have here in our community. First, Katie Winter is a thankful Jeff co-parent who sent 2 kids back to school yesterday at Drake Middle School and Arvada West High School. A New York native, she is the one-woman band who runs For the Win Communications, a home-based boutique marketing and branding company. From a young age, Katie has enjoyed all forms of communication and utilizes her professional work in community building and student engagement to inform her practice of integrated creative marketing strategy to help her clients achieve their win. When Katie isn't fixing a broken API key or detangling a MailChimp, you can find her on the ice as an avid hockey mom and a volunteer coach. So welcome, Katie. Thanks again. And we also have Janelle Herrera, who's the VP of Marketing and Business Development at OnTap Credit Union. She has more than 20 years of traditional, digital, social, omni-channel, and e-commerce marketing experience. She creates marketing strategies that leverage data and digital experience, ensuring personalized and impactful messages are communicated to members based on their needs. Before OnTap, Janelle led advertising and shopping marketing for a range of Fortune 500 clients, including Pampers, Kellogg's, Duracell, IHOP, and Dasani. I've heard a few of those. And when she isn't working, breweries are where she plays. So she's definitely in the right place at OnTap. And she even had her wedding at a brewery, which I love. So welcome, Katie and Janelle, and I will now turn it over to Katie.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll admit it's a little weird. I can't see you, but you can see me. So please feel free to use the chat box and the Q&A box liberally to engage with Janelle and I throughout the presentation, as we are humans like you, and we live here in Arvada like you, and we want to talk with you about this. I don't consider myself an expert in social media. I consider myself a lifelong learner who I learn new things and I like to share it with others. And I learn a lot from talking with colleagues like Janelle. I see some other colleagues in this space here in the chat, or here in our attendees. So we're here to share some knowledge and information with you. You can share knowledge and information back with us, and together we can all hopefully walk away learning a little bit more today. So before we jump in to get to the core of social media, the foundation really is you and your brand and your company. It's really critical that you nail and have written down, and communicated effectively with anyone who's managing your social media channels or any of your communication channels exactly who you are. This isn't a place to think and be creative. This is a place for you to authentically speak from the foundation of your brand, how you were formed, what you are different from your competitors, everything that goes into where you are and what you stand for behind your product or service. You have to make sure you have that solidly communicated, and possibly with your employees as well, for the employee company that they're joining. When I build brands and logos and design, it doesn't come from what I like or what the client likes. It comes from parts of these foundations. I think Ryan's controlling the slide master today. So Ryan, let's hit that beautiful next slide. So from a conversation, oh, you got it, Janelle? Sweet. Yeah. Thanks. So, so this is actually from those original brand questions when I engaged with Salon Roya. This is a brand board, sometimes called a mood board, with the pictures. It has a lot of the elements that are the foundations of this brand. Their logos, their iconography, their colors, their keywords. The goal here, off of that original brand questionnaire and competitors' research and research in the space, is to build a solid foundation, a one snapshot view of what this brand stance is. As you can see in this example, I've listed the font hierarchy in the upper left-hand corner, the styles and the types of fonts. I put in the colors on the bottom. It's a little hard to see on a PDF with the light shade of pink. But I would encourage you to check out Salon Roya on Instagram and on their website or on their Google. And hopefully what I believe you will see is complete 100% consistency across their channels and platforms, from inside the pictures they show inside of the shop to outside of the shop to their online presence. They look the same everywhere. And this is how they achieve that look, by consistently adhering to and sticking by their brand guidelines. Janelle, anything to add on that point?
No, I was just going to show kind of our brand guidelines here. This is just a few pages. And I do think sometimes people believe like, oh, brand guidelines are so limiting, especially in social media. But as you can see, we have an array of colors, and then we also have two different logo types. We have this logo type and then the other that we kind of call our beer seal. So even though, you know, you're targeting different groups, and obviously youth accounts might feel a little different than a give back program, we have our style guide. So we have our elements that tie it all together, but you can still have fun with it and make it look a little different, but still cohesive, because we have our two logos as well as our palette of colors. Anything else?
I think that's pretty darn good. So a part of this too is also building things that are not necessarily what you like and colors that you enjoy, but that your customers and your clients enjoy. And you're gathering data every day about your customers simply by interacting with them, or through your metrics found in things like Constant Contact or MailChimp or Toast or Square. However you are gathering that data, take a look at it. This is an example of a customer personas that I built using the 2019 Arvada demographic supplement. And if some of these people are people you can think of in the community, that's the idea. If anyone says, when businesses say, what are your client? They say, everyone's my customer. Well, that's not true. I'm sure among yourself, you could think about your 4 to 5 typical client sets that walk through your door and use your product or service. That is the basic foundation also of the marketing plan and branding plan, is making sure that your brand is attractive to the clientele that you want to come in your door. Saying you're available for everybody rarely works, but with your brand standards, your brand guidelines, your good research on your competitors, and knowing the customers you want to attract, you can build a really stellar social media and overall marketing strategy that can make sure you're attracting spending your money and your time in the right places.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those places.
So to build on, just one more thing to build on that example. So as a credit union, we can give loans to everyone in our field of membership. So we can, you know, that could be our target, but to Katie's point, you can't have a target of everyone. So our foundation was the foundation of Coors Brewery. So we understand like celebrating your financial wins, and beer is a big part of our history. So when we look at our target, we do go after the beer lover. Now, will some members join us who don't love beer? Sure, we're in the community. We have other aspects from Colorado lifestyle, but we know who we are. And if you hate beer and don't want to be around beer, then we're probably not the credit union for you, and that's okay. So knowing your customer and speaking to them and being authentic and true to who you are and who your foundation was as a business is really important. And then to kind of go back to the brand thing, I know it looks like a few on the call might be kind of your personal, like promoting your personal self, whether you're in insurance or mortgage lending. While you may not necessarily have to have a full brand guideline at that point, you still need to know who you are and how you want to portray yourself to your customers and who your customers are. So it's still good to answer those questions and have a general palette of how you're going to talk about yourself in social, even if you're just kind of promoting yourself as an individual. So know thy customer, know thy platform. Katie, do you want to take this slide?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so without say how old you are without saying it out loud. Back in the day when I first got on Facebook in 2004, it felt like nobody was there, because at the time the platform was locked down to a specific group of people in a specific place with a specific email account. It's true. Look it up back in the day. You don't have to be everywhere. We're going to talk about these platforms, but also talk about these platforms in a way for you to decide thoughtfully where you should invest your time and where you should be, and maybe a place where your customers are not and where you don't necessarily need to be. If in a broader sense, Facebook is kind of the everyday social media workhorse. It's kind of like a giant living room. And now with other groups and clubs and ways that Facebook has evolved over the years, you can find lots of places in Facebook. But again, Mark Zuckerberg is a smart guy, and he's not going to make it as easy for you as you might think. So organic posts will only go so far. But still, it is still the most common place and the most easily accessible place to reach out to customers or potential customers. Instagram, pretty pictures, please. Instagram's a place where you lead with photo-heavy content. So if you don't have a photo, Instagram's probably not the place for you. Twitter, I don't know how you feel about it personally or professionally, but it's kind of in our opinion, or my opinion, and Janelle can talk about it, it's kind of the place for news about your business. Short, press release type quality, very simple, things you want to highlight and talk about. It is definitely some place to use, in our opinion, to use sparingly, given how crowded that space is. And I won't go into too many details on Twitter. But in general, we see a majority of our clients and people I work with are most interested in Facebook and Instagram, and find those platforms, Facebook more so, to be accessible because of its ease of use. And with Instagram, it's having those great visuals, great, the key is great assets, and that can be photos or that could be videos. Anything, Janelle?
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned when we were talking through this, the Instagram is great for the behind the scenes too. That kind of like, hey, maybe Facebook, is more polished, but Instagram might be, hey, we're setting up for this event, but again, very photo heavy. And then for Twitter, yeah, we use sparingly as well. We really use it to establish ourselves as an industry authority in certain areas. So if you're do investments, you can share news on what's happening with investments there, or the housing market. You can share updates on what's happening in the housing market. So again, informational news, but yeah, we use it sparingly.
And talk about things I don't use or use sparingly. Personally, some of these new platforms, TikTok, Snapchat, Nextdoor, I'll make a special little note about nextdoor.com. It is a very special place. There is definitely been more attempts throughout the years for places like Nextdoor and Facebook to get more into paid content. And that has definitely shifted the marketplace, where your organic post about your company or business may not travel as far because they want your money. And that's cool. It is another form of marketing. TikTok and Snapchat, I would again encourage you, Janelle mentioned here, claim your business name. You don't want anyone to be stealing your name, so claim it. You don't necessarily have to use it because you have it.
I have a good story to add to that. Yeah, it wasn't us, but a local business had a customer that was not happy with their experience. So they went on TikTok, took the business name, and then started posting derogatory, video TikTok videos about that business because the business hadn't claimed their own name. So that's why even if you don't use it, it's good to claim it because you don't want someone posing as you. That business eventually got their name back and she gave it back, but yeah, it's important to claim your name.
Yeah, so we have an anonymous attendee question in our chat that's asked really quickly, do you recommend paid ads on these platforms and have you utilized TikTok? We're to answer that question more specifically, we're gonna answer that as we continue in the presentation, but I will say all media is important. The thing about paid ads is we're gonna talk later about having a campaign plan and how you best deploy and utilize paid ads as part of your campaign strategy. So it's kind of like, I want six-pack abs, but I only want to do one sit-up. That's the kind of the same thing that goes with social media and paid marketing. You have to do it consistently, you have to be dedicated to it, and you have to have a plan to achieve your goals. TikTok, really quickly, I will say, yes, in certain circumstances with certain client bases that I'm going for, TikTok is something that our research showed would be advantageous to use in a marketing plan. But I'll be honest with you, for traditional businesses, such as some of the ones I see here, I wouldn't necessarily consider it a place to put too much of your time and energy. It's where the kids go right now. They're not really generating money or views. It's really views based. It's fun to watch if you want to get trapped in videos for hours, but if you're trying to sell a product, it's a whole different ball game. But we'll go back to that later.
Yeah, and from my standpoint on TikTok, we're just, we're continual learners, right? Is that what you said? You're never done with learning when you're in the digital space. So we're dabbling with it. For us, we use it more in the space of, say someone's 16, they're going to get out on their own. They might be looking for some fun financial snippets. So that's kind of how we're planning to use it moving forward, is more little educational fun snippets, for that age group that we think will be, interested and we may capture their attention. Some other credit unions, not in the Colorado space, have dabbled with it and have had, success and good following. So not to be ignored, a little more expensive on the paid front, but I think dabbling on the organic front, if you have a loyal base of followers and a large base of followers, and you have a good group in that age group, you could dabble in it, but probably not your top area to spend your time today, depending on your target. Awesome.
All right, Janelle, I think now we're going to get to a little bit about the organic and paid approach.
Yeah, the only other two before we do that, Snapchat has been successful for if you do events at high schools or colleges, like graduation, like we do, loans for graduation, student loans, things like that, that can be successful. Again, but you have to know your target. It has to be right for your business. So, go through that lens. And then two that aren't even on here, because there's so many. LinkedIn is a one to think about, especially for those on the call that are your personal brand. LinkedIn is huge. So if you're in business sales or mortgage sales or insurance, use that as your relationship builder. There's a 3-2-1 model that I've heard about. Click on 3 things, comment on 2, post 1 thing every day. So it's just something to think about. And then YouTube is a huge opportunity. We won't even really go there today, but it's another really important platform.
Oh, I love YouTube. What the things a good video can do.
Exactly. And then to answer the question, thanks for teeing us up. So do you use social for organic? Do you use it for paid? Is it a branding channel? Is it a revenue driver? Well, it really depends what you need for your business, but it can be both. And while these overlap, so you can't really put them into these buckets, I kind of think of organic, my organic strategic pillars are brand awareness, kind of some of the things that we're doing, make sure we're informed, educating, thinking about those holidays or this thing's coming up or this event's coming up. And then really to inspire and entertain. So that's kind of how I'm if I'm going to do organic, does it kind of fit into these topics? Great, then the organic makes sense to me. And we'll go into more examples of that in a minute. But then paid, when I look at paid is really an extension of my marketing plan. So if I'm going to launch a new product, or if I'm going to have a big event that I want beyond my existing followers to see, that's when paid has to come in, because you're really thinking about who you're reaching. Paid really helps you extend beyond your, 1,000 followers that you have that might see you in organic. But you could have, we have 20,000 members. Well, I can use paid to help reach the remaining 20,000 members or new members who may not always follow us. And then paid is also a really good way to like generate leads. Don't think of it necessarily as like sales, and I'll show that in a minute. But a good way to kind of capture someone's attention and let them let you know that they're interested. So kind of using that to generate leads. Otherwise, it's really hard to track the ROI and what you're making back if you don't have, if you're not really paying attention to some of the data and some of the leads that you're gathering. So let's talk about organic a little bit. Did you have anything to add, Katie? All right, so let's talk about organic. These are just some examples, but you are unique. We just talked about it. And the people who are already following you already like you. So you don't have to sell. Just tell who you are, tell your business, share some highlights, share some fun stories. So, you can highlight why you're different, but don't sell it. But, one of the things we'll do is, because of our beer connection, we'll actually share and comment on a lot of beer festivals that are happening, or some of our beer members, and we will use this area to support us, because that is actually part of our brand story, and that is our business difference in a lot of ways. Our products and services are really targeted to, making sure that it's easy and not intimidating. So we would try to make sure we do a lot of messages that talk about banking isn't intimidating, because that's what OnTap is. And then reviews, testimonials are huge. And then the other thing that's a great way, if you start running out of ideas or content, is your employees. Your employees have a wealth of knowledge. They may see members or customers that you may not see. This little one in the middle was this little boy for Youth Month who was doing a project for his school about money. And so we came in and spent the day with him. So we had like a series of posts with this little boy, Reese, and it was great. And people love it, because people get to know who they see every day, and they already love your business. And then leverage the community. If we're at chamber events, cross post, support each other. Make sure you're going to get more extension of what you communicate if you're tagging and connecting with other people. Also, for the influencers in your business or your community, tag with them. So that way that you're building that connection and building that greater community. Then, but what I will say is the biggest successes we've ever had is kind of when we combine both. During the pandemic, a lot of businesses shut down. We wanted to give back. And so we did a little thing that also included our employees. And we basically said we were going to feature 40 favorite businesses in Golden and Arvada, our two, branch locations. And we had employees share why they love these favorite businesses. And so we do a bigger, longer post in organic. We got better with these over time, live and learn. It's a lot of words right now, but to really highlight the businesses. And then what we did is we went to the businesses, gave them, said, hey, you were selected, here's a $25 gift card to use with your employees, or you can pay it forward. And some of them chose to pay it forward to nurses or different things during that time. But if we'd only done organic, only our, we, normally we do an organic post, we get anywhere from like 20 to 30 likes, and that's about it. But with the paid on top of it and letting people know that we're doing this, it reached so many more people that these numbers are only a portion of the results. Those are our tracked results, but we saw people sharing our posts and going beyond that, and then other people commenting and liking it. We had board members who, see our posts on occasion, like reach out to us and they're like, you are everywhere. What are you doing differently? And it's because we had a community give back. We were really trying to bring people together. We weren't doing it for any other reason other than supporting the local businesses, because we knew everybody was hurting, but it just created this like great story on social media. And it was the two together. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it, get that reach.
So while Janelle's been focusing on social media, we just wanted to pause to let you know that at the same time she was doing these things online, she was also doing things out in the community and the environment. So not, like I said, a campaign traditionally is 3 or more tactics. It can be, they have a start date and an end date, and it can be seasonal and short term. So you can have your everyday standard marketing. I'm working right now with a client, and they are focusing on back to school. So in May, we started talking about the ad set that would run in August. And we started planning, taking photos, making videos, getting the content ready, buying the ad in the newspaper, thinking about our paid placements and where we were going to be on Google search, putting our video on YouTube, and sending a postcard to homes. So it took a little bit of planning, but we deployed our tactic with a start date and an end date, and laid out a series of things we were going to do in addition to organic social media posting and paid social media posting. And I put some other things here on this slide, such as every door direct mail. Mail is not dead. As much as you may think, if you it's a guaranteed way to know that you put your name in front of another person. Value ads, or an ad in the Arvada Press, is not a bad idea, especially when it complements, as Janelle said, that feeling that you are everywhere. So right now I have a few things in front of me. I have my computer screen, I've got my phone, and then I could be searching on Google. Those are 3 things that I could be looking at, reading a blog, seeing an ad embedded in a blog, doing a Google search, and then having ads or text messages come to my phone, especially from businesses I've already frequented. So just keep that in mind, that today we are focusing on social media, but we want to encourage you to also think about other tactics and other things that you can do, such as sending out an email on a newsletter, or sending a text message to clients, or having a flyer on the counter. These are the things that will help your social media go faster and farther when you deploy other tactics at the same time.
Yep, and I couldn't agree more. Like, here's just an example from last holiday. We did a auto loan promotion, and during that time, inventory was really, really tight. So we tried something different. Yeah, we do Facebook, and carousel ads have been around for a long time and just kind of like flip through. But we kind of showed different holiday lifestyle, more emotive, situations in the fall and the winter with family and things like that, all based around a car, right, for our promotion. And so we did some carousel ads, but we didn't stop there. We had search, we had digital banners, we do email newsletter, and we had in-branch signage. For auto promotions, we don't often do mailers, but if it was a HELOC or a mortgage, promotion, we always do an oversized postcard. So that way, even if they don't open it, they've seen the front and back, and it's a really good way to make sure, it gets delivered and you get another touch point and eyes. But what I want to go into is, great, we had this campaign and we had all these touch points, but a lot of people think of like, hey, I want to do this, and they start at the top of the funnel, right? And they're like, great, I want to get the word out there. Oftentimes I say it's better to start at the bottom of the funnel. Like, what's the end result that you're asking people to do with some of these digital touch points? And again, because it's social or because it's digital, you don't always want to sell first. So what we sometimes do is offer something, whether it's, calculate your purchase, or get a free guide. And these are just really like helpful tools for someone on their journey. So, there's various industries on the calls, but if it's, use the hair salon example. Well, maybe it's a guide to different hair colors. Like, take a look. Like, if you don't have to be selling right away, it's really building that relationship and making sure that you're being helpful, so that the next time they're going to think of you first and come back, because you've done so much more than just say $2.99, haircut or whatever. But then in addition, make sure you're capturing any leads, because so many people will like start something and then, oh, I ran out of time, or I maybe want to schedule an appointment, but now I have a conflict and now I stopped what I'm doing. So we always try to do a quick first name, last name, email, phone number grab before we ask someone to do anything, or at the very least an email. Maybe don't have to do all of that. We're a credit union, we need a lot more information for loans and things like that, but at least grab an email. So that way, and then monitor your list. So that way you can follow up if someone doesn't seem to complete their appointment or whatever it is you're asking them to do. So capturing leads, I think, is crucial to anything you do. Because otherwise, if you're spending a lot of money are not providing helpful tools, you're kind of setting your money on fire if you're not thinking about the end game. So make sure you have your end game set up tight before you just start spending money on social media.
Absolutely. So here we're going to do a quick run of a couple social media tips and things that you may know or may not know, or may want to know a little bit more about, that can really jumpstart your social media plans.
Excellent. So, there we go. Tip number 1, develop, we talked about developing a brand, your brand guidelines and things like that, but also like develop a social strategy. What if you're not the only one posting on social? Like maybe your business small and it is today, but you can use help from other employees, other teammates, like have a plan and make sure you know what your purpose is and what things you want to post on or don't want to post on. There's a lot of social topics out there right now. Do you want to be in that space? Do you not want to be in that space? Where are you going to be as a brand and have your guidelines for what you're going to do? So not only is it your goals, it's your KPIs, your key performance indicators. How are you going to measure success? I think a lot of times people will try like one digital ad or one social post on Facebook and pay some money. And they're like, well, it didn't work. Well, what were you hoping to achieve? What was your goal? Is it just looking at likes, or were you asking people to engage? Because if you weren't asking them to engage, they may not like you. So they may have seen it and just didn't react to it. So how do you know? So I think it's really making sure you set up your KPIs, kind of, your message categories, your content types, where you're going to play. And then you can start a high level quick, like, hey, are there things we want to focus on or things we must communicate throughout the year that you can quickly highlight on the calendar as like a good starting point? Because once you get all of that down, now you've had a foundation to build from, and then you've also set guardrails for anyone else who might want to help your business post as well.
Like I said, one sit up, magical abs.
Yeah.
So another thing that can help with your social media management, and like you're spending a lot of time creating the post, deciding where to post it, and pushing the button to hit send. Social media management tools are all over the place. This is just a short list. It's actually a slightly outdated. There's a whole bunch of new products out there, such as Plan, that will help you to post to social media and also help you create content. And so it's something definitely to consider. Some of them have free 7-day trials. Some of them are free to use. So this is a management tool to help you with your content strategy. Canva is a product that can help you create the actual digital content. But these are things that we talked about that we sometimes look at to use. I know HubSpot is particularly popular with a lot of social media content managers because of its ease of use. I'm not paid to say that. I just know that a lot of my friends like to use it. So
yeah, we use HubSpot because it ties into a lot of our whole marketing automation platform, which is great. But like I said, all of these other platforms are really great. Some of them even do, like Sprout Social will include competitor monitoring, which is nice. So you can you don't have to go dig on all your competitor sites and see what's everyone else doing. So they all have a unique spin. Find what's right for you. But this is key to making your life easier, because I'm sure we all wear a lot of hats, and you don't want to spend all day scheduling social media content.
Talking about spending all day, crafting those postings can take time. It might feel, especially creating those postings in advance or having a content calendar or a plan of what you are going to post, maybe not necessarily in days of the week order, but in days, 1 day, then 2 days later, then 3 days later. However you plan your strategy, you really only need a few postings a week. Now, we know the internet makes you feel like you have to be on it all the time and everywhere. But if you have a plan and you are posting strategically, it will appear that you are everywhere when you're really not. We put a couple of things here, such as creating as many ideas and saving them for later, scheduling your post out, or using the features on these platforms in Facebook, for example, or Instagram to schedule things in advance to post at a certain date or time. You can also, one thing that we don't really talk about is that, yes, you can reuse a post. Not everybody saw it, especially if it was organic. You can absolutely take an ad that you put out or a posting you did even as short as 2 months ago and recirculate on that on these channels, and new people will see that post. So
yeah,
Janelle, go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. We've done like a financial education post one day and got like 2 likes. I'm like, that's weird, but we'll reuse it a quarter later, and then all of a sudden, different time, different day, who knows what was going on. It must have been a slow social day for maybe something else going on, and all of a sudden we'll get like 15, 20 likes, and it's the exact same post. We haven't done anything different. It just happens to be when you're catching eyeballs as people are scrolling. So definitely don't be afraid to reuse your posts. Awesome.
Oh, contest. Ryan should be talking about this. Ryan loves a good contest.
You want to take this one, Katie, or I can take it?
I'll just say that, like many things such as couponing or discounting, running contests is something to be done, again, like in a planned strategic way, and not to be overused or over abused. So I think that contests are something that you should think about. But Janelle, I want you to take this a little bit, because your next slide talks about capturing people that participate in your contest and converting them. So go ahead.
Yes. So I think it also depends like on the platform. So think of something like Instagram. That's about visuals, right? So are you asking people to share visuals, like if you're a restaurant, food that they had with you, or are you asking them to share their favorite foods or, favorite hair colors, whatever it may be? Like, make sure it's right to the platform. Where Facebook, we might do something like, different engaging content, like, what do you think about this? Talk to, share your one idea. But the one thing to keep in mind is there are a lot of legal and sweeps, and you will see all over. Like, I cannot go on Facebook where I'm like, oh, you could sue them, you could sue them, you could sue them, because you have to link to legal disclaimers, and you cannot require someone to necessarily you can't say you must share this to enter. You can't force them to send it to someone else. In most cases, especially in the financial industry, in order to enter. But you can click somewhere and capture their information. So there's a lot of gray area around contests. So just make sure you do your research, have a link to some legal and disclaimers, and follow the rules. You can Google the information. It's easy to find. Just a lot of people don't know that there are rules around contests. So keep that in mind. And then, as I was saying, if you're doing the contest, capture their information and then do something with it. Otherwise, like I said earlier, you're setting money on fire. So when you capture that, what is your end goal for capturing them? Are you, are they going to be, are you, kindly adding them into your email database? So now they're going to be getting your daily emails. We'll make sure that disclaimer is also included when they send you their information. But then that way you can give them helpful information. Or are you going to use that information to then follow up with a coupon for them to come visit you? Like, know what you're doing with that information and know what you're doing with that potential customer once you do that contest and capture their information.
I can do a lot if I have someone's name and their zip code.
Exactly.
That's all I need. And so now this is kind of a choose your own adventure, DIY. If you haven't been looking into this, you should know that your pages are gathering data. Now, I will say, all of these platforms who have their own paid marketing programs are going to share with you enough information to entice you to market with them. It's still useful information that you should be using for your own organic purposes. One of my favorite data points is on Facebook is looking at the time of the day and the day of the week and the time of the day that is most popular when my followers or people are online. So when I'm planning to post content, I had one client in particular, they were very popular on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock and Tuesday mornings at 9:30 or 9 o'clock. That's when I posted content. So I put some quick things here. You can feel free to grab your phone, go ahead on your desktop if you haven't already. Facebook is constantly changing their Meta Business Suite, and some of the ways you have to find the data now, but it doesn't matter. Even with Twitter has data too. And all of these things can tell you and help you to make your post more efficient and effective, and also tell you some insight again about your customer demographic, the age of your clients, male to female. So it is a great idea to definitely gather data from the platforms that you're using. And to Janelle's point, building in a solid list of your customer set so you can go after them with your own marketing.
Awesome.
Oh, and then tracking, my favorite.
Yeah, you can talk about landing page tracking if you want. I'll talk about the UTMs.
Well, I wanted you to do that. I mean, landing page tracking is particularly creating a page with this expressed intent to gather data and not just track the clicks, but to gather data that's going to help you to be able to identify and contact those clients whenever you want. But go ahead, Janelle, you do this all day.
Yeah, so I mean, this was years ago, but when I discovered UTM codes, I was like, why hadn't I been using this forever? Because when you go into Google Analytics, you can actually see where people are coming from. And so it's a simple Excel sheet. I can send a template to Ryan after this to send out, where you put in whatever you are using for tracking that campaign. So you can see here, I'm doing some digital banner ads. This is our online banking platform where we will put ads in there. This is Facebook and Instagram, so this is social. And then we do like a HubSpot e-newsletter that goes out. And so I can and then search. So I can be as specific. What's not showing here is this is our auto campaign. This is our mortgage campaign. This is our XYZ campaign. So you can get all of that information and you can see where people are coming from to your website. So the data is there in, Facebook and Instagram as well. But this to me is always like a nice check-in point, because I can exactly see like, oh yeah, I do know these people are coming here. And how many of them are new users who haven't been to this page before? So I find that the UTM tracking codes are hugely beneficial and kind of validating some of your efforts to know what's working. And I can extend the screenshot beyond. You can actually do click tracking and things like that. Google Analytics tracking is a whole nother avenue, but it's a great resource to add on to some of the data that you're pulling from the social sites. Then I'll go in a little bit, we talked a little bit, give it time, test new things, track results. So not everyone requires you to, maybe you're in a company where you don't have to show your ROI on things, but it's really good to look at it and track and kind of say, okay, if I am going to spend dollars on social media, how, using Google Analytics, extending to see the clicks, I can say, hey, I know I did Facebook and Instagram ads. I got this many people to my site. I got this many clicks. I got this many leads. And these leads, in my case, will just say, an average auto loan is, say $15,000. Well, I can say, of those, 25 people that applied from Facebook, that average auto loan of $15,000 times 20, and then divide it, or times it by our typical interest rate. Well, that's what I know my profit, subtract the cost, and then that's what I made. So it's really taking your net sales divided by your social media costs times 100, and that is what you've made. So it's a really good way to just kind of do a check and really validate, is what I'm doing working. Now, some social media is awareness too. So understand that it may not truly be a one-for-one, but at least I always think as long as I break even, I know there are additional leads that came from there that maybe just came into our branch or came into the website at a later date. But I kind of use this as a little ballpark to kind of make sure that we're breaking even in our efforts.
I'll also say that it doesn't hurt to also ask your clients. I have another hairstylist that I work with, and she said, everybody sees my post online. And I encouraged her to check that. So she did a running tally one day of all of her clients in one day and how many of them had seen her Instagram post and how many hadn't. And then she tacked on an ask and after their appointment sent them a Google review form to fill out for her. She's almost at 200 reviews, and she started doing this in January. So it is also important to talk with your clients. Test out that theory that everybody sees what I post on Facebook, and ask them if they see it. And we also correlated that with the amount of spend that the clients did in her chair. So she was tracking the clients where they saw her post, Facebook or Instagram. And then she was tracking, are they getting a cut in color, or are they getting a full set of extensions?
Yeah, no, that's great. Awesome.
And then my favorite slide, leverage your friends. We do have chamber networking groups that are great for hunting down and tracking new leads, but there is nothing like going into our Arvada Chamber directory and searching out great creatives, like some of the ones that are listed here. And also to mention a good friend, Lisa Bengston, who also does phenomenal digital marketing in the Arvada area and larger metro area. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions. It doesn't take much to just have a quick conversation, get some advice, get some guidance, because making these small investments and getting some additional help could be really a benefit to save you time and money. This is a phone. This is not a camera. So we have to remember that if you want to really level up your marketing efforts, you might want to make the investment in a photographer with beautifully staged shots that you can use for the next 4 years. So just a shout out that, your efforts will be amplified and go farther when you really look into your local Arvada Chamber of businesses that can help you in your efforts.
Absolutely. And then this slide, I think this is your favorite too, Katie. Build, measure, learn, do it again, repeat over and over. You can't just do this once.
You can't just do this once, and you can also pay someone to do it for you. You really have to look at a measure of scale of your company, look at the amount of money you're willing to invest in your marketing plan year over year, and really think about, is this a wise use of my time to be spending this time making my own social media content, or should I be looking to an external provider who can do this for me? Social media plans, the prices can range and vary depending on how much content, the amount of channels you have in the content, or if you're doing a seasonal campaign. But I really encourage you to at least consider the option when you start to make your yearly budgets and put in that estimate of how much money, or that commitment of how much money you're going to dedicate to marketing. Even though your time is money, even if it's not on your balance sheet, the hours that you spend creating content is time you're taking away from running and operating your business. And that's just a simple plug for thinking about bringing in a creative to help make this work easier for you. But you got to keep doing it. Like I said, once you get on the social media bandwagon and once you start doing it, you have to keep running on that treadmill.
Yeah, they say, if you start social media and then you stop, it gets interpreted as your business is closed, even if it's not. So you got to stay consistent and you got to keep doing it. So, yep. This is a summary of the 10 tips that we just went through, and it looks like we have about 10 minutes left. So do we want to do this, or do we want to go to questions?
I don't know. We can do, we're in a webinar format. So I think the only way we can be communicated with is via the chat or via the Q&A. I don't think we're allowed to see people's faces, Brian.
But feel free to answer the questions. So which platform do you love? What do you hate? What have we not touched on?
It's TikTok. It's all about the TikTok. All the kids I would love to talk about the TikTok. I have yet to have a client tell me that they have made buku bucks on TikTok. So I am not opposed to it. I hear you can learn a bunch of things on it though, that it's all, my kids tell me it's like the new version of YouTube. And Facebook is dying. Facebook is just announced a few, they are absolutely, right now, they're no longer fact checking ads just in time for election season. They've decided not to do any more fact checking. So we're just be aware. It is the wild, wild west out there. But I don't know. I think it's interesting and fascinating. We would love to get some questions in the chat if we possibly can. Oh, there's a chat question. Oh, Lisa, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for the great presentation. Yep. Never thought about claiming my business on TikTok and Snapchat, even though I won't use those platforms. Claim your business name.
Claim your business.
I have so many accounts that I never use. Like I can't even tell you how many accounts I've created on Twitter and Snapchat that I've never even touched. But yes, Lisa, we captivate your name, because you never know when someone else is going to do that for you. Sorry.
A little Facebook tip. I think it was a bullet. We didn't talk about it. One thing to think about that a lot of people forget is if you do a post, especially a paid post, you're grabbing new people who aren't followers, and they'll like your post, but they're not your followers. You actually have to go in and invite them to follow you, because that grows your organic audience, and a lot of brands overlook that. So just a little tip there. If Facebook's dying, what's next?
Facebook doesn't want to die. Well, Facebook, all right, you go first. And then we have a question in the chat about Instagram too. Go ahead. Your thoughts on Facebook. I meant it in a way that Facebook is aging. So in 2004, I was in my 20s. I'm going to tell you all, I'm no longer in my 20s. I think Facebook is generationally moving on a progression, and it also at the same time went into heavy marketing based. So I think Facebook, in my opinion, is trying to compete with Google and make you feel like you can Google it on Facebook. You can have a business on Facebook. You don't need a website. Facebook will make a website and that is not true. Because my goal when I do marketing is I want you to be able to talk into a device as small as this or as small as this. And my content needs to be visible on these screens, and it needs to come up in the search engine optimization. So I don't know what's next with Facebook. I don't know what Mark Zuckerberg is going to do to try to captivate his market share, or maybe Elon Musk will get feisty and decide that he wants to hang out here. So I wish I don't know what's next.
Yeah. I was going to say, to really age myself, Facebook is not dying in the sense of MySpace. It's not completely going away. It is still the workhorse. It is still a good, I would say if I only had time to do one, I would do, or two, I would always start with Facebook and Instagram. If you only had time, it's not going away in the sense of, and YouTube's another great one. So yeah.
I would like to just shout out Misha and our Outdoor Lab Foundation. I don't want to assume that everybody knows that Outdoor Lab Foundation is the organization that supports over 60 years of Jeffco Public Schools participation in outdoor education and learning at Windy Peak and Mount Evans, which every sixth grader in Jeffco participates in for a lifetime. So Misha, I would just challenge back that, yes, like Instagram, you have a beautiful mountaintop, you have beautiful pictures of kids engaging, but I also think you have two client bases. You have parents like me who are saving money to put our kids through, or our kids are going to go through Outdoor Lab or have been through it. And then you have your students that you want to recruit to be interns. And then you have donors, people in the community and businesses that you want to donate. So I would suggest that you look at your marketing in terms of those client personas and who you are going after, and then how you do those, your postings to go after your sponsors, your donors, your supporters, future parents, and also marketing to find those interns who just make the experience for kids at Windy Peak and Mount Evans so amazing. So it's two things. It's the people you're going after, and the platforms you're using, and the messages you're sending.
Awesome. I see another question here. Are there specific posts that you've seen be more successful than other posts, i.e. videos versus photos on Instagram, or text versus photo on Facebook?
Define successful.
Right. Content is king. Video is huge. I would try to use video as much as possible. I know it's not as easy all the time, but I think video tends to be, it grabs your attention. You can, pin the video on the very, top as well. So that way people are seeing it. So weave in as much video as you can, both on Facebook and Instagram, I would say, that we get a lot of views, attract a lot of views. I don't know. What do you say, Katie?
I'm back with you on what is your measure of success. If you want to get a lot of followers, I agree with Janelle. I'm a video fan. I'm a short video fan. The attention span video now is measured in literally 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 15 seconds. I mean, if you can get someone to watch a video for more than 30 seconds, that's considered successful. So I would push back ever so gently to ask you to think about what is the success you want to get. For me, I measure success in leads. With the school I'm working with, we created a lead generation form, which I embedded a UTM code inside of a newsletter to track the clicks. And then on the form, the principal was reaching out and calling the families. And from the form, she got 5 families to enroll. That was our success measure. So for me, it was the more people I could lead gen and the more generations I could gather on that form. But the success was, the ultimate outcome was she had to convert them into clients or customers per se to enroll in the school. So watching videos helped. Parents got to know the school, but then they had to sign up on the form. We gathered their information. We got them to come visit. And that was the success metric. So look at your measure of success. And then I will again say high quality photos and high quality videos. Text, I don't think I've ever, I don't want to say this and sound judgmental and rude, but it really is advantageous to always post some kind of photo content on Facebook especially. So that's, and then gather those leads and look at your current databases. You've got, you are collecting customer data every day. I think we overlook that because we're so busy trying to attract new customers that we sometimes forget about the people that you already have. So do you want people to look at your product and like it, but never buy it? Or do you want to resell more products or services to people who have already purchased your, had the opportunity to experience you once? So just think about those things. Treat both groups with love, I guess I'm trying to say. And that's all I've got, right? And we've answered some questions in the chat, and we're all, Janelle and I are always happy to, contact us with questions you might have, or, Jeff, roll that beautiful next slide so they can see all of our gorgeous contact info. And we're happy to kick you off and get you started, or point you to a friend who in the space who might be of assistance.
Yep. Thank you guys for the time.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for participating today.
As Katie mentioned, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out directly to Katie or Janelle, or shoot me an email and I can point you in the right direction. Thank you again, Janelle and Katie. Great presentation. You can't see all of our attendees, but they're standing and applauding. For everyone attending, thank you. We hope to see you for the next presentations. Our next one is September 20th. We'll be tackling SEO and search optimization for your website, a huge issue and can really help your marketing. So we hope to see you there. We hope to see you at our other chamber events, and hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See you in real life or see you online. Have a good one.